Let's welcome you all to the virtual Wellbeing Festival 2022 for Integrated Care Northamptonshire, and I know that you're all dying to see today's session, which is with our very own Anne Linsell around supercharging your confidence. Just to let you all know, I'll show you that in a second. The team today are myself, and in the background, Dave, the GIF man, Harrison. He will be looking after the chat box on your behalf. And just to let you know, the session will be recorded. And if you do want to watch back on that at a later date, then please feel free. You can do that via the Wellbeing website. If you have any questions at the end of the session, please raise your hand using the electronic hand function and we'll bring you in, get you involved in the chat. Failing that, you can pop your questions into the chat box and Dave will ask those on your behalf. And for those of you that are hard of hearing, if you click the three dots at the top of your screen, you can download the transcript as well. So, without further ado, I would love to hand over to our very own Anne Linsell to supercharge your inner confidence. Go, Anne.
Thank you, Dawn. And not that it's strange to be on the other side of the presenting team at all, but hello everybody and thank you for coming to today's session. As Dawn said, my name is Anne Linsell and this session is all about supercharging your confidence. Well, who am I, you may ask? Well, I'm an organisational development practitioner and I've worked in the NHS for nearly 20 years. I was in operational HR and then about 8 years ago I moved over into organisational development. I'm also a business and a life coach both in the NHS and outside of the NHS, and I'm also a master NLP practitioner. Now, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's about how we think and use our language and how that impacts ourselves and others. So why am I doing today's session and how does this fit in with wellbeing? Well, I work with people both in group and on a one-to-one basis, and so often confidence is at the root cause of their challenges, of their limiting beliefs, and often what's holding people back. So today's session, I'm going to do a whistle-stop tour of my favourite tips and tricks which could help you to supercharge your confidence. However, in the best organisational tradition, this session is highly interactive, so you're going to be playing a big part in today's session. So I ask you to be curious, try things, and let's see where we go. So my first question for you, now we're going to be using Slido. So to access Slido, you can hold your phone's camera up to the QR code, or you can go to slido.com and put the code in, or hopefully one of my colleagues will post the link into the chat. So I'm going to ask you, what comes to mind when you think of confidence? So just to be curious, put the first thing that comes into your head. You can put more responses in. So do you think about people being strong? Do you think about determined? What do you think about when you think about confidence? So bold, strong, brave, strength, brave, that's obviously a big hit there. Being able to project my views and be heard, self-belief, power stance, knowledge, outgoing, tall. Oh, that's interesting, tall. Oh, they're all coming through thick and fast now. Brave is still the biggest hit, with knowledge, strong, self-belief, being totally at ease with myself, getting stuff done. That's interesting. Being unafraid. Okay, well we'll touch on that as we go through. So brilliant. So lots of things. So brave and strong are probably the top hits on that. So I'm just going to allow one more second, so you can stay on Slido because I've got one more question for you, slightly different question. So what do you notice about confident people? So think about the people in your life that are confident. What do you notice about them? In what way do they approach things? In what way do they walk into a room? What do you see that supports their confidence? So they're loud, they're pretending like the rest of us. That's good. They speak their minds, composed, outgoing, well-spoken, tall, smile, say what they want. They come across as knowledgeable, like a peacock. Positive, certain. Think about yourself as well when you've been in situations which you absolutely are 100% confident in. So calm, they've got presence, they're not afraid to express themselves. These are coming through really fast. Unwavering, happy, body language, they're less worried of others' opinions, they're not afraid of challenge. So really loads of things, they get things done, they make eye contact. Brilliant, thank you. So really interesting to see what people think about when they think about confidence as a word and confident people in themselves. So wow, there's stacks coming through there. So I'm going to, if it's okay, I'm going to move on. So I'm just sharing some photographs of confident people. Now, some of these are famous people, some of these are stock images, some of these are fictional characters. But confidence comes in all different shapes and sizes. So some are loud and proud, or some are, it can be the quiet belief that they're doing the best they can. But what's clear is confidence is different for everybody. And what does matter is what you believe about yourself. So I'm sure some of you will have come across this wonderful book by Charlie Maxey, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And isn't it odd? We can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside. It's a really powerful sentence, that. So the question for you all, and again, if you could put your responses to this into the chats, the question for you, who have you had the longest, deepest and most meaningful relationship with? And if you can just pop your answers into the chat, and I'm just going to try and keep an eye on the chat with all the gifts that are in there. So who have you had? Who do you think your relationship is longest, deepest and most meaningful with, and also most honest? So lots of people have said their partners, their husband, the twin sister, the family. A few people have said yourself. Yeah. And Emma said she adores that book. Yeah, it's one of my favourites. Might see a few extracts from the book again. Parents, the hubby. Yeah, lots coming through. My bestie, 48 years. But actually, a lot of you have actually identified that it's yourself that you have, you've had the longest, deepest, and absolutely the most honest relationship with. So hold on to that thought as we go through the next few sessions. So I'm going to invite you to be curious. Now, I've not done this virtually before, so you're going to have to bear with me on this, but I'm going to try and experiment. So for this, you can either leave your cameras on or you can turn your cameras off. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to ask you if you can. Now, I'm not able to stand up because my computer setup at home doesn't allow me to do this. I'm going to ask you to stand up. I'm going to ask you to put your sort of feet hip width apart and put your arm out in front of you. So if everybody can do that, you can turn your cameras off if you don't want to be seen. Put your arm in front of you. Keep your feet hip width apart, and I'm going to ask you to swing your arm around, keeping your feet straight ahead, as far round as you can get it. You can twist your body, but as long as you don't hurt yourself, obviously. But see, and just note how far you can get your arm around. Just note, might be a mark on the wall or a cabinet or a bookshelf. Okay, has everybody done that? Just swing it round. Okay, cool. Right, now I'd like you to come back. Now what I'd like you to do is to visualize doing exactly the same thing. So I'm going to ask you just close your eyes for a moment, and I'm going to ask you to visualize putting your arm in front of you. Don't do it, you just visualize it. Put your arm in front of you and visualize swinging your arm around, the same arm, as far around as you can get it. Okay, brilliant. Okay, we'll have it if everyone's back in the room, in the virtual room. Brilliant. Okay, so finally, for the last time, bear with me on this. I'm going to ask you to stand up again. Feet hip width apart. Put your arm out in front of you, and I'm going to ask you to physically swing that arm around as far as it will go. And just note how far it goes. Brilliant. Okay. Now, this is where I'm crossing everything and hoping it works. Can I have a sort of the thumbs up emoji reaction if you got your arm further the second time than you did the first time? I can see Stephanie's got her hands up at the screen. Got a few hands up going up there. Brilliant. Okay, so I can see a few hands. If you use the reaction buttons, I can see a few hands going up. Brilliant. Okay. So what you've seen there is the incredible power of your mind. So and that's showing what you think and what you say to yourself, particularly in the area of confidence and self-belief, absolutely matters. So thank you for bearing with me on that experiment. I wasn't sure if it was going to work in the virtual space, but thankfully it has. So what I'm going to do during the hour we've got together is I'm going to take you through 7 tips that could boost your confidence. They come from a variety of sources, which I'll share when I get into each one. You may find them all useful. You may only find 1 or 2 helpful. But what I would say is just embrace your curiosity, try and see what happens. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Move on to another one. Okay. But let's start. Everything that relates to confidence comes from the stories and the narrative that you tell yourself, and that really matters. So I'm going to look at the first one, the power stunt. So this is I'm sure you will come across this, you'll recognize it in different forms and in different cultures. And you can see some images here. You know, what's a power pose? Well, look at the images. We've got Superman and Wonder Woman, and they are striking a power pose. You've got the rugby teams, the New Zealand All Blacks. They have the haka designed to intimidate their opponents. You can have others like rock stars, media stars, and politicians. Well, I'm not sure that it's a good topic to mention today, but politicians will often use a power pose. Footballers, particularly goalies, they make themselves big. They physically fill the space. Now, not only are all these things done to intimidate and their opponents, but also they also have the benefit of boosting your own confidence. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the work of a lady called Amy Cuddy, who's has done some research into power posing. And I've got a clip from Grey's Anatomy, which beautifully demonstrates striking a pose, which is where I want to go into my Madonna mode, and how it can make a difference to you. So I'm just going to play it, and if one of the team can just give me a thumbs up, we can hear it. Oops. It's my fault, sorry. Turn the volume up. Try again.
Okay, I have everything set up. You will have all of your films, your favorite scrub nurse. What is happening?
I'm being a superhero.
Okay.
There's a scientific study that shows that if you stand like this in superhero pose for just 5 minutes before a job interview or a big presentation or a really hard task, you will not only feel more confident, you will perform measurably better.
Seriously?
Seriously. You feel it?
We're superheroes.
We are superheroes. Hold up your head and enter the arena and face the enemy. Fight until you can't fight anymore.
Okay, so just a short clip, but again, something that be curious, try it and just see what impact it has. I've done it before, going out and sit in front of large groups of people. It has been me stood in the loo with my hands on the hips, doing my best Wonder Woman pose. But it absolutely can't do any harm. And, you know, I stood in my home workspace today and did the same thing before I started this presentation. Try it and see if it works for you, and be curious. So have I gone on too many slides? No, I haven't. So the next one is about silencing your inner critic. So again, I'm going to ask a question of, do you have that internal voice that talks to you? It may be your own voice, it may be a voice of somebody from your family, your community, that you hear inside your head that often is negative. If you have that internal voice, can you either put something in the chat or give me a sort of a thumbs up reaction on the screen? So I'm just going to bring my chat up to date. All the time, yeah, I'm seeing lots of hands up. Constantly, every day. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, Rebecca's saying it's just her own voice. So yeah, it's something that's absolutely a part of us all, and it's completely normal. And I'm just going to share with you, this is quite personal, but I'm just going to share what happened when I was prepping for today's presentation. And what I did was I turned my inner critic up. I turned the volume up, and I really tuned in to what I was hearing. And these are many, not all, but many of the things that I heard. So why would anybody want to listen to me? What do I know about anything? I'm an idiot. Others could do this better. I'm not good enough. Why do you get yourself in these situations? I'm constantly thinking that one. They will find me out. I'm letting everybody down. I'm rubbish. Who am I to talk about this? They will tune out. You don't have the scientific knowledge. People think you're daft. You're so stupid. There'll be complaints. Why did you think you could do this? I mean, my inner critic was just in full on, you're not doing this, Anne, this is just a bit daft mode. So question, what do you think would have been the impact on me if somebody else had said that to me as I was preparing for a presentation like this? You can come, you know, shout out, put in the chat, let me know. What do you think the impact would have been on me? Make you feel worthless? Just feeling low, terrible impacts, absolutely, Richard, yeah. Wanting to hide, feeling awful, knock your confidence, demotivating, feel like raise your hands and I can invite you. Oh right, sorry Dave, I was reading your comment. Raise your hands and I'll invite you to talk. Okay, that's cool. We've probably made you angry and motivate you to respond, unable to perform. Yeah, absolutely, all of those things. So another question for you, in terms of what do you think the purpose of that inner critic was? Again, I'll invite you to put into the comments or speak it at, you know, call out. What do you think that the purpose of that inner critic was for me? To keep you safe, absolutely, yeah. Fight or flight, yeah. Self-protection, yeah, I'm not quite sure what it was protecting me from, but challenge me to try harder. Yeah, and absolutely all of those things. So that inner critic was to keep me safe, to keep me in my comfort zone, to reduce the risk and not to put myself out there. We're hardwired to do this. We want to be kept safe. Our inner critic or self-sabotage is like it's like an overprotective parent. It wants to keep us inside and suffocates our choices to reduce the risk. It wanted to keep me safe. It wanted me to take the easy route, and the easier route would be to working with the team to deliver the festival, not coming in front of the camera and delivering a session. Let's be honest. But that's what your inner critic is there for. So would you speak to a friend or a child like that? You absolutely wouldn't, would you? If you had a friend that was giving the presentation, you would be supportive, you would be encouraging, you would encourage them to see the positives, you would nurture them and support them. Or if it was a child, it was like you would absolutely give them, encourage them to do what they could do and try the hardest. So why do we allow our inner voices to, why do we pay notice? And the other thing, actually, just going, I'm going to go, I can't go back. The other thing about that inner voice was all of that stuff that I was telling me. I was absolutely so clever, because not only was I thinking about what I thought you were thinking or you might think. So how clever was I? You know, my thoughts are just my thoughts. Thoughts are not real. But not only was I thinking about them, I was thinking about what I thought you were thinking of. How on earth could I even know what you were thinking? So, you know, that's where it's, you know, that we need to silence that inner critic. So I've got three ways of silencing the inner critic. So the first one is a really simple. When you notice it, shh it. Just shh it. Physically shh. When you notice that inner voice telling you you're not going to be good at that, or they're better at that than you, or what, you know, all of the other things that go on, just simply shh it. And again, I'm always inviting you on today's session to be curious and think about it. The other thing you can do is you can name it and use distant self-talk. So you could talk about yourself in the third person. So you could say, and just be quiet. Or you can give your inner voice a name and a persona. Now I'm showing my age here and showing me a child of the 70s, and Lizzie Dripping was the name that I've given to my my inner voice. And it's like, shush, Lizzie, just be quiet. I'm not listening to you. I'm not there today. So you can use that self-talk, that distant self-talk can help dial down your inner critic. And then finally, you can do a positive reframe. So you can notice what the inner critic's saying. It's like, I'm doing my best. I believe in myself. I won't worry about things I can't control. I'm enough because I work hard. Today is going to be a great day, and I'm not able to do that yet. And those three words that I've highlighted on there, that yet is so powerful, because that gives you the art of the possible there. And on the lunchtime session with Samantha, she was talking about positive affirmations, and some of these positive reframes are positive affirmations. If you allow that, you tell yourself these stories, you notice what your inner critic is saying, and you reframe it to a positive. Okay. I like that from, is it Amina? I'm not sure which way around your name is. I found shush was too polite for mine. I absolutely agree. You can use whatever language to shush your inner critic that you feel is appropriate. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay. So the next one we're going to look at is taking action. And again, we've heard a lot about this as we've gone through the festival week. The mindfulness and behavioural activation session was talking about action. Samantha was talking about action, and Dr. Amir Khan yesterday was talking about action. So I invite you all to think about a time when you learnt to ride a bike. Might have been as a child, but not always. But think about how you learnt to ride that bike. Just put yourself back in that. Did you visualize learning to ride a bike? Did you think about learning to ride the pedals, to push the pedals first and then negotiate the steering? I don't know why I'm waving my arms about, but I am. Or think about the brakes and how to use the brakes, and then think about the balance. No, of course you didn't do any of that. So what did you do? You got on the bike and you started to pedal. You took action. I imagine you had somebody's help, particularly if you were a child when you were learning to ride a bike, but there came a point when you were riding that bike on your own, and that was the moment you truly became confident in your ability to ride a bike. So your feelings of confidence don't come, they come after, not before action. And so often we get stuck, and our confidence gets stuck in, I've got to do all of this, I've got to do that, I'm scared about doing that. And actually, sometimes if you just take tiny little steps of action, then that will get you through, and those actions move you forward. And actually, I've just remembered, for anybody that sort of wants to take notes on this, we have got a handout at the end, so you can, that we will share with you, so you can have all of this on one pager that you can reference if you want to. So the feelings of action are really important, and sometimes it doesn't matter how tiny that action is. If you want to start going for a run, it may be that you just get your trainers and put your trainers by the front door and walk to the end of the road. That could be all it takes to move you into action. And again, another great quote, and anybody that works with me in any form will know that I use this all the time. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So again, it's that self-talk that's coming in there, and this came from the car manufacturer Henry Ford, and it's so powerful. So if we think we can't do something, well, we're not going to do it. If we think we won't get that job. If we think we can't give that presentation, if we think we can't run that mile, that, you know, we're losing already. So that, you know, that moving into action, no matter how small, is really important. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it came up that back in the 1950s, the 4-minute mile was believed to be unattainable. Roger Bannister, who was a neurosurgeon, not a professional athlete, he achieved that in 1954. And 64 days later, it was run again by an Australian in Finland. It was broken again. And since then, it's been broken 1,663 times. That's according to Wikipedia, which we all know is the source of all knowledge these days. But again, it's that belief. He had that belief that he could do it. And then once other people saw that belief, then they did it. And so it's the same with anything. I think it's the sub 2-hour marathon has just been broken. But interestingly, when I was researching this, women haven't broken the 4-minute mile yet. I'll just put that yes out there. So no woman's run a 4-minute mile. So for me, it shows the power of owning your belief and taking action on them. So now we're going to hear from another one of my absolute favourites, Mel Robbins. And Mel's developed the 5-second rule. And this is something which helps. It could help you if you use it to just take those actions, make that phone call, send that email, have that conversation, because and she'll explain that it bridges the gap between the thought and the action, and it just bridges that. So, whoops, I've gone the wrong way. Here we go.
So I heard you created this thing called the 5-second rule. Like, what exactly is that? I don't understand.
Oh, yeah. So it's a brain hack, first of all. So it's a simple shortcut that you can use to push yourself through any excuse, any fear. I'm going to give you a quick example. You know how when you wake up in the morning and the alarm goes off and you have that moment where you know you should get up, but then you start to get swallowed by your bed?
Yep, every day.
Okay, that used to be me too.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow morning when that happens and the alarm goes off, I want you to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Okay.
and something weird is going to happen.
Okay.
You're going to get out of bed. Because what happens when you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's a little trick that I invented by accident, has tons of science behind it. You basically are interrupting the part of your brain right here that has all the excuses, all the self-doubt, all the anxiety, all the overwhelm, all the fear that becomes a pattern in your life. And you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by the time you get to 1, this part of your brain is awake, and that's how you make your decisions, and that's how you change behavior. And it sounds like way too simple, that there's no way that something that simple, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 could work. But it is the thing that you can use to change any behavior. So what's some area of your life that you want to change for the better? That one.
I want to do stand-up.
You do?
I do.
How long have you been thinking about this?
My whole life.
For real?
For real.
Fantastic.
Not kidding.
Okay, terrific. So
Yeah.
what is the excuse that you use to stop yourself from taking action to pursue it?
Oh, I'm not young enough. It's a second career. I have terrible stage fright.
Okay, so here's the thing that's amazing about life. Most of us know what we want to be doing, and we even know what we need to be doing. What's happening, and this is where the 5-second rule comes in, is that the moment that you have an idea like, oh, there's an improv class, I should sign up for it.
It's the fear.
Yes.
The fear always stops me.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it stops you in 5 seconds, because what happens is you see the improv class, but then you start thinking about it, and a 5-second window opens up, and that's how the fear gets in. And within
Apologies, operator error.
5 seconds, if you're thinking about it and the fear gets in, you won't do it. So
I'm nervous even thinking about it.
Great, then I know
Yeah.
we're on to something.
Yeah.
So you probably know the question that I'm going to ask you. What is the class that you're avoiding signing up for that will put you in the game?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I need to find it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's get your phone.
Okay.
You can change your life in 5 seconds.
Okay.
Let's Google
Yeah.
an improv class. Let's find one.
Improv, New York. I wonder, I'm sure there aren't any. Like 1,000, right? Improv classes, NYC.
What comes up?
Yeah.
I'm blind, so I need these specs.
The
Oh, look at
the People's Improv Theater.
Oh, the
Magnet
People's
Theater,
Improv-
Comedy Cellar.
Look at
yeah.
this. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. This is how the 5-second rule works.
Okay.
You know what you need to do. You're just scared. You're going to, when we're done with this, I'm going to watch you. You're going to call that.
Okay.
And see how nervous you're getting?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about
I'm
it.
sweating.
Good.
Okay.
This is what it feels like to change your life.
Yeah.
And you're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's make the call.
Right now?
Yes, let's call and
What
find
am
out
I
if they have any
gonna say?
classes. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Let's call it. 5, just count. 5.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right, let's do it. Comedy Cellar. I'm not sure what to say.
Do you offer classes?
Okay. I seriously want to cry right now. Hi, I was wondering, do you guys offer improv classes?
She's going to go log in. But what did you learn from this?
That I'm really nervous.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just about taking action, and it's about stopping and redirecting the thought that I always would have, that fear, and interrupting that fear.
Yeah. And it's this 5-second window.
yeah,
Because
right.
the second the
It's a
fear
small
comes
window
in,
for
you're
sure.
screwed. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 closes the window,
Yeah.
and you take action. So there's only 2 spots left. I want you to register for it.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
We're going to come. You better sign up. It's going to be gone.
I know.
Okay, so So I can see a heart from Dawn. I know Dawn and I have lots of conversations about Mel Robbins, but that is a tool that can support your confidence when you want to go into a room that you're nervous about doing and you don't feel confident. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just go in, take the actions, and the action, no matter how tiny, moves you on to what you want to achieve and supports your confidence. Because like the child riding the bike, you get confident as you take the action, not before you take the action, because we can all be waiting forever to feel confident enough to do something. We've just got to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to pause at this point and say if I've got any questions. I can see lots of chats about the 5-second rule. I did try and like a couple of things, which is why my video stopped. So I'm going to leave them alone now until the end. Okay. So next one we're going to look at is friends. And
just before you move on, just looking in the chat box, you talked about confidence and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there's a nice comment from Michelle Webb. She says, definitely need to try this. Have you got any thoughts around that word about try?
Absolutely, Dave. I think you know what I'm going to say about try. So yes, actually, I can't see Michelle's comment, but yeah, Michelle, I would say, when are you going to do this? Because again, we need to be focused on the action. Try implies that, you know, it's not a strong word. It's not, you're not owning that. I will do this today. I will use the 5-second rule today. And thank you, Owen, for that Yoda gif in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. Do or do not. There is no try. Completely. So to Michelle, was it Michelle? I think to Michelle, should do that. Use the 5-second rule. And again, as I've said at the beginning of today's session, be curious, experiment, play with it, try, you know, not to try it, I've used it now, but use these tools. And if you get on with them, great. If you don't use it again. See how it goes. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is friends. And move it forward. So we all have our cheer squads, whether at home or work, or most likely a combination of both. And to quote Paul McGee, who we had on the Leadership Matters conversation last month, confidence may be an inside job, but it actually does require outside help. And we're going to have a look at, he talks about people in your cheer squad. So likely you've got a cheerleader in this cheer squad, in your squad. So they're there to encourage you. They believe in you and your abilities to succeed. You need a challenger. So the challenger will question your motives, your plans and your dreams, not to discourage you, but to help you explore in more depth what you were trying to do. They raise questions that you may not have considered and take your thinking to a new level. So these are the roles that your friends will play. You might have a coach, and the coach won't just challenge your thinking, but help you explore tools that you need in order to accomplish your goals, that help you look at your own internal resources and external opportunities. The coach will hold you accountable. And then finally, you'll have a confidant and someone you can trust. Their support comes not only because of their ability, but because of their integrity. Confident listens. They're not there to advise you, but to provide you with emotional support. Their encouragement comes from their willingness to offer empathy and understanding. They may challenge you. So in order for you to develop your confidence, you will need people's help to do this, but you need to think about the roles that your friends and your colleagues play in supporting you. When you need a reality check, sometimes a cheerleader won't be the most helpful person. When you're particularly lacking in confidence, sometimes a challenger will make the situation worse for you. When you need a plan, you don't necessarily look to a confidant for that. And sometimes you need a coach to support you in terms of to make that difference for you. The key is to realise that your friends, your family will play different roles, as you no doubt do for them. And actually sometimes they may swap roles. So they may be able to do more than one. So the truth is we all need cheerleaders, challengers, coaches and confidants. But remember, the key to success and to confidence is not independence from them, but it's interdependence. It's using them to support you. And this is all information, and this is all sourced from Paul McGee's book, Self-Confidence. So if you, and I have put the link in the handout at the end. So if you want to get any more information on this, you can do. And also remember, you play these roles for people as well. So when you're supporting your friends and family, just think about the role that you're playing and actually what they need. Okay, next one is the high five habit. Now this is another one from Mel Robbins. And again, you might love it or you might think it feels really daft. But again, I'll challenge you to be curious and see. So I'm going to ask you a question on Slido. What feelings do you get when you've gave or received a high five? So just think about last time you got a high five from someone. Was it when you'd done a great piece of work, when something had fallen through? What feelings do you get? So we've got a yay. Absolutely. Feel happy. You feel positive, you feel happy. Feel satisfaction, feel positivity, embarrassed. Oh, that's an interesting one. Embarrassed. Oh, we're going quickly now. Feel great, feel warm inside, proud that you've been supported, feel self-conscious, successful. Yeah, and I always remember receiving a high five when I was doing at the end of a very long race, and I got a run. It wasn't a race, I don't race anything. But when I was doing a run and I got a high five as I got to the finish line, and gosh, that feeling was incredible. So yeah, you feel appreciated, you feel positive, you feel joy, you feel happy. Okay, so that's when we give or receive a high five. So we're going to look at Mel Robbins in her latest book, The High Five Habit. Again, this is a tool that she's developed, and it's got some science behind it as well, which I'm not going to go into on here, but you can read more about in the links that I've provided. But I'm just going to play this video and just to get you to think about whether this is something that's relevant for you.
Hey, it's Mel Robbins. And if you are struggling with energy and focus and discipline right now, I've got a simple science-backed thing for you to try that will immediately boost your mood. It will immediately build your confidence, and it will give you the burst of inspiration and support that you need. I call it the high five habit. It's going to sound weird. Here's how you do it. Right after you brush your teeth in the morning, I want you to look at yourself. I want you to set an intention for today. Think about how you're going to show up, who you're going to be, and what matters to you to make progress on today. And then I want you to raise your hand and high five your reflection. And something crazy is going to happen. As you raise your hand, you silence the critic in your mind. Shh. And you seal that intention with your own reflection. And there's even more. All of the messaging associated with a high five. I believe in you. We got this. Let's go. Come on now. Pick yourself up. Keep going. It's already in your brain. So when you high five your own reflection, all that positive programming marries with your own reflection when you need it most. I know it sounds silly. It sounds weird, but please try it for 5 days and you'll be shocked at what happens. And when you do, I'm going to tell you something. Your whole life will change, because what's actually changing is you. And that's worth a high five.
Okay. Okay, so again, something to try. It may work for you. It may be a bit sort of like, that's very American and I'm not sure, but I challenge you to try it and see what it does for you. Okay, so the next one is all about appreciating you. So how many times do we support, appreciate and compliment others? That was a great piece of work you done. That was a great session you delivered. You had a really challenging conversation. Well done on doing that. Or even you're looking really cool and calm today. The list could go on. We're all really brilliant at supporting and complimenting others. What does it feel like when we receive a compliment for others? And I'm going to ask you to pop your responses in the chat. What does it feel like when somebody gives you a compliment, when you've done a great piece of work, or what you're looking like today, or you know how you behaved in something? So warm and fuzzy. Yeah, it does feel nice. So again, you feel great about yourself. Feel uncomfortable, yeah, and I have to say, sorry, your name's gone off the screen, but I have to say it can feel a bit uncomfortable receiving compliments. I don't know whether that's a cultural thing for the British, but yeah, you're happy with the sense of achievement, good but uncomfortable, proud, appreciated and noticed. It's big smile. It's a surprise. It's always lovely to receive compliments, and just thinking about that feeling. But so for now, the challenge we're going to do we'll look at now is about how we appreciate ourselves. So how often do we appreciate for us the things that we are good at, the things that we know? How often do we take time to appreciate what we do for ourselves? And I would imagine not very often. So the next task is not one to do now, it's one to do in your own time at home, but it's something that seems fairly simple, but actually it can be quite challenging, but worth it. And I'll explain, when I've explained the challenge, I'll explain how you can use it to support you when you need it. So, so the first thing to do is I'll get you to start with a blank piece of paper and write your name in the middle. And then the first part of the challenge is to write down 25 things that you like about your appearance. And yeah, 25 things. You heard that right. And if you're like me, you'd probably be thinking it'd be easier to write down 25 things I didn't like about my appearance. Well, yeah, absolutely it would, but that's not the point of the exercise. So I want you to challenge yourself to write down, and you can do it in an evening, and you can do it in 2 or 3 stints if it's not easy to do. So you might be like your height, you might be like your lack of height, you might like your arms, you might like your nails, your hair, your teeth, whatever it is. Just take the time and write down those 25 things and say it's hard. It is hard. It's harder than it appears. Okay. And the next is to write down 25 things you like about your talents and your skills. And these are not necessarily work related. Think broadly. So talents are things that come naturally to you. So they can be things like, they can be untapped often and represent future potential. So it may be that you, maybe your listening skills, your power of persuasion, your flair for reading. Skills are things that you've learned along the way, and may include things like being organised or making a good cuppa, which always goes down well in my book. It could be baking, gardening, problem solving. So think about those things. Again, take the time and write those things down. The next are 25 things you like about your personality or traits. And again, personality and traits are not the same. Traits are things that you've learned through conditioning, and personality are inherent to you. So personality could be things like warmth, openness, impulsiveness, and traits could be determination, curiosity, optimism. And if you're struggling to think about what those things could be, Google it and see what resonates with you, and keep going until you get 25. And then the last piece is write down 25 things you appreciate about your connection and relationships with others. Think about how they would describe you. Things like they may say you're thoughtful, you're a good listener, I'm getting my words gone now, good listener, mediator, making time for friends. And again, keep going until you get to 25. So once this list is complete, you've got a list of 100 things that you value, and it's called a self-value baseline. So 100 things that you, well, I can't get the words out now. You've got a list of 100 things that you rate about yourself, and it's an essential tool in knowing that you are better than you are. And at times, you know, you are choosing to bring yourself, times when you're choosing to bring yourself down, you can look at it and remind yourself how dazzlingly, genuinely amazing you are. Now, this is from work by Angela Cox in the book called You Are Better Than You Think You Are. And it's one of the, again, a series of tools that you can use to support your confidence. So again, I've put references in at the handout, so if anybody wants to find out more about the work of Angela's done, then you can reference it there. Okay. And then I think the final one is, it might feel like a bit of a strange one, but it's one that's used by athletes and professionals all over the world to help put them into the outcome. So it's about fast forwarding to the other side of a situation, and again can absolutely help your confidence. So it's about visioning a successful outcome. And this technique involves using your amazing brain to fast forward from the present, here and now, to some point in the future. As an example, an hour ago, you know, I could have spent time thinking about how I would feel when this session was finished. I closed my eyes and I thought about, how would I feel when it was being successfully delivered? What would I hear? What would I see? What would I notice? What will I do? What will I smell? Using all the senses to make that experience really vivid. What will people say to me? What will the feedback be like? How will people use the tools I'm given? Now, it does seem a bit strange, but if we think back to that exercise we did at the start of the session with our arms, it's using the power of the mind. And this is an exercise that's used by professional athletes to envisage, whether it's a pole jumper or a runner or a shot putter, to envision running through the process and actually not physically, but mentally going through the stages. And there's research being done that, and they did research with people learning to play the piano. So they took two groups, and one group they had to physically practice the piano every day, and another group had to mentally vision, I'm getting my words mixed up now, vision practicing the piano. And they had the same outcome, which is incredible. With one group were only just in their mind playing the notes, where another group were playing the notes. So you can use this tool for any situation. So not just ones in which you feel your confidence to boost. The classic job interviews. You can run yourself through the process and think about actually what's it going to be like when I've walked out of that interview and I've done my best and I've answered all the questions. How am I going to feel? What am I going to notice? It could be when you're going to have a difficult conversation with somebody, that feeling when the other person has understood and agreed. It could be when you're giving presentations. I don't know why I keep using that as an example today, but we'll leave that there. The feeling when you've delivered something successfully. It could be, you know, that feeling of walking into a new job where you don't know anybody, or into you know, pre-COVID, into the days when there were big parties and you think, you know, that awful feeling of walking and thinking, oh, how am I going to feel? Any of those, you can just fast forward to when you've got to the other side of it. How will you feel? A really powerful tool for just help. It may help you. You may try it and think, actually, that's not for me, but that's absolutely fine. So a quick run through. So we've looked at the power stance and how we can, you know, do our best Wonder Woman pose to just give ourselves that boost of confidence. We've looked at tools and tips for silencing our inner critic, and just how we turn that dial down so that, you know, we can't make it go away completely, but we can turn it down so we don't notice it. We can take action, and using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method to just move into action more, rather than thinking I should do, I must do, I would like to do. It's actually move things forward. We can think, we thought about the role of our friends, the role of our own cheer squad play. Who's got what role? Actually, are you using them when you need them in the way that you need to? Looked at the high five habit, how high-fiving yourself every day can be really powerful, and just seeing yourself, recognizing yourself, setting your intention. Looking at creating your self-worth baseline with the appreciating you exercise, and how that can be a reference for you when you're, you know, you're not in the, when you need your confidence boost, just to look at actually what do I appreciate about, what am I good at, what do I value? And then we've looked at fast forwarding to the other side of a challenge or an event, to get yourself to a point where to support you as you move through it, to actually running it in your head to get to the other side. So just as a reminder, I'm sure many of you have seen this before. What people think success looks like is a straight line, but I'm sure we all know it's actually a really big squiggle, and each of those squiggles is an opportunity where it maybe we've not gone right and we haven't, but we've learned from it. We take that learning forward. And okay, so just as to close off, as I started with the quote from Charlie Maxey, I will say, just be curious, just try, after saying that word, but yeah, be curious, have a go at some of these exercises and just see what works for you. And this one I love. So most of the old moles I know wish they had listened less to their fears and more to their dreams. And hopefully some of these tools will enable you to do exactly the same. And then final one for me, imagine how it would be if we were less afraid. Okay, and then what my colleagues will be putting into the chat is this handout, which has got links in it to some of the videos and some of the resources that I mentioned. We'll put the handout in the chat so you can take it away and use it as a reference guide if you wish. And I think I've finished, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, take a deep breath and relax. I haven't even looked at the chat for a while, so if there's any questions in there, if somebody can let me know.
There is like thousands of excellent comments and thoughts and everything, which is really good. And what I would do is I'd encourage anyone that wants to talk about something is please raise your hand, because we can have that conversation. We've got a little bit of time left. I did see something in the chat box, and I'd have to, it took me hours to scroll it, but there was one person that was asking, what if you've got no friends, basically? How do you find someone? And we talked in the chat box about coaching, and I know that NHFT have coaching and that is free to anyone. I'm not sure about other areas, so maybe contact your relevant L&D OD type of people and find out if it's there. Coaching could really help you if you haven't got someone that, and I don't mean know, like, and trust, but maybe someone who can be there and listen non-judgmentally, and encourage you to take that forward. Lots of people giving lots of well dones, and I did see some single, so I'm just going to try and scroll. I am going to scroll. So it's from Jane. All sounds great, but is this something you can ever do without thinking about it, i.e. can make a part of your everyday life? Sorry, that's my drippy Lizzie asking. So Jane, is that something, how do you make this part of your everyday life? You're more than welcome to join the conversation.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't got my camera because I'm on my desktop. Yeah, because you read all these things and you look at all these things and you get them and you understand them and they sound fantastic. But it's like, how do you actually then put that into practice?
Well, that's the challenge, and I guess the challenge for you, Jane, is how do you want to make it part of your everyday life? So I would always start. There's a load of work and research being done by again a chap called James Clear in his book Tiny Habits, and he talks about when we want to create a new habit, we need to start really, really small. So an example is if we want to say, I'll use running as an example, say we want to be able to run 5k, for an example, when we can't run anything, we might want to start with, actually, how do we build into our week a way of doing something that's tiny. So it might be that you put trainers by the front door and you go and walk to the end of your drive, and you do that 3 days a week, and that becomes a habit, and then you build on that habit. So some of these exercises are things that you can try, you can do and just build on it really slowly until it becomes a way of being that actually you don't notice it anymore. Has that answered your question, Jane?
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I say, just making that little start, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And it's always, when you do an action, you always feel better, whatever the action is, whether it's been successful or not, you have you've taken action, and that makes you feel more confident. That supports your confidence. And if it hasn't been successful, then it's a case of, well, okay, well, why wasn't it successful? I'll do it a different way, or I'll do something else. And then, but all of them are actions, and all of it is data.
Thank you.
Cheers, Anne, that's spot on. And Anne, actually, I'm a qualified coach, but I haven't come across that one that you showed about the 25, and I've magpied it. I have stole that, and I am using it in the next sessions. There's a nice comment from Keddy Jones, and I like the way Kerry spelt, because it's a Welsh way. Thank you. I can't wait to share some of these resources with my team. And I think that's really interesting there, because everything that's in that chat box and you shared now, hopefully for all these people who are here, there was 80 odd a minute ago, go and share it with one person. I don't do math, that's double. Go and share it with 3 people. Hey, we're reaching more and more people. So I think that builds your confidence as well. Loads of thank yous and lots of brilliant presentations. Someone's said about, this has been great. I'm a new starter. Yeah, people talking about the books you've put, and yeah, I want to go and link books. Lots of good applause type of stuff towards you, and very insightful. Thank you, Anne. Great presentation, really helpful, especially to the NHFT new starter. So that was from a gentleman called Richard, and I did see another one from a gentleman called Tim Pack. Brilliant presentation. Have loved your thoughts about how great the end of the presentation will be. So I really like that. And once again, Anne, I'm sure I'll encourage you to go and look at all those positive thoughts and emotions and gifts, of course.
Absolutely.
Hand back to you, and Dawn.
Dave Gift King Harrison. And I would say for if a lot of in the document that that I think Owen shared or Louisa shared, I have got links in there, but lots of people have got the website. So Mel Robbins has got a website. You can get free YouTube videos. There's so much, and actually sometimes it may be a 5-10 minute video that just triggers something for you that you think, actually I'm gonna do that. So you don't necessarily need to read the books, but I have referenced the books in there as well.
Fantastic. And I think based on your presentation there, Anne, I think Tim was wanting to know, did you visualise what that would look like?
I did the whole lot.
Yay, there we go.
I did the full works. No, I did the full works. But I think thinking back to those two questions, those two Slido questions at the beginning, what does confidence look like, and what do we notice about confident people? I think, and I'm sure somebody in the Slido sort of said people, they're faking it till they make it. Everybody is nervous. Everybody has their doubts. Everybody has their inner critic. And it's how we show up and how we just move forward. And I was, those thoughts that I shared in terms of when I was preparing the presentation, they were real. They weren't, I wasn't making those up. And, I even had a couple earlier in the week, somebody did something on one of the wellbeing festivals and I thought, oh, I can never do it like that.
Yeah.
Those things are there for a reason to keep you in your comfort zone, but actually we don't want to be in our comfort zone. We want to, the more we push against our comfort zone, the bigger it gets,
and the more we don't, the smaller it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. So be curious, experiment, learn what works for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne, that was amazing, and I was loving watching the chat box, watching you. So I'm going to share some slides before we close the session. If you do have anything else that you want to come into the chat box, please feel free to post that. But equally, we are on day 3 of the Wellbeing Festival, and if you have been affected by any of the information or experiences shared in this video or any of the others that you've seen, there is a list of contact numbers there that you can get some advice from. So things like the IAP team, mental health crisis, and the free health and wellbeing support for the NHS and social care staff. So please feel free to use those. And feedback is a gift, and I know that there's been plenty of feedback in the chat box. So Anne, you'll be spending a couple of hours going through that, I'm sure. But please let us know, what your thoughts are about the Virtual Wellbeing Festival so far. We'd love to hear your feedback. And also, every feedback form does get entered into a prize draw to win a year subscription of the Happy News. So you've got the QR code there that you can hold your phone up against and get entering. There's also more resources, more activities to support your wellbeing on the Wellbeing Festival website. And you have got the QR code there as well to go and explore what's available. Now, as I say, we are on Wednesday. We've got 2 more days to go. So please use the QR code, go and have a look at anything that takes your fancy, and get booked in, get it into your calendar. And for those, I'm going to use Dave's terminology here, anyone that is down with kids, if you are on social media, you've got things like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, please share your thoughts, what you think of the Wellbeing Festival so far, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fantastic, and use the hashtag VWBF22. And lastly, just want to thank you all so much for attending the sessions, and a massive thanks to our very own Anne Linsell for doing such a great job today. Thank you.